Hi, I'm Danielle Davies, and you're listening to Roar, a show that amplifies the voices of women breaking barriers, leading change, and making real impact. Keep listening for bold ideas and stories that inspire you to find your voice and make some noise. Hi, everybody. This is Danielle Davies, your host of Roar. Today's guest has built the thing that so many of us daydream about, a place where women get to run away to camp, make things with their hands, eat gorgeous food, sit under the stars, and remember who they are when no one needs a snack or a spreadsheet from them. Lisa Field is the founder and director of Lucky Star, a 5-day creativity and whole living sleepaway camp for women held every fall in the Texas Hill Country. Since 2012, she's welcomed hundreds of women to Camp Waldemar on the banks of the Guadalupe River for workshops in everything from painting and writing to welding, apothecary, guitar, yoga, and more, plus live music, gourmet meals, and late-night campfire conversations. What started as Lisa's passion project has grown into a vibrant community of women who stay connected well beyond that week, a thriving network of creative women who keep cheering each other on all year long. We're going to talk about how Lucky Star came to be, why creativity is such a powerful catalyst for women, especially for those of us in midlife, and what happens when you put 100 plus women together in the woods with art supplies, good music, and no laundry. Lisa, welcome to Roar.
Hi, Danielle. Oh my God. I love hearing it all just like read out that way. It's just, especially having just been there last week before last. I'm still like, it still gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, you've got to have that tingly feeling. I want to not say it, but I have to. So I was going to change the intro and be like, Lisa is my personal fairy godmother. Wasn't part of the official intro, but it would be wrong for me to not mention when the very first year Lisa gave away a tuition and it's a whole long story of how we got to that point, but Danielle Davies, won anything in my life. Once I won a $2 honor roll mention for Grapes costume in a Halloween parade. And then I won Lucky Star, which was a huge, huge win. And I will say, I think it changed the trajectory of my life. It was like the best thing ever. And I almost am annoyed that Lisa's saying how great last week was because I wasn't there this year. And
I hate to rub it in.
You have to rub it in. But so this is super personal for me. And I feel like every woman deserves this for themselves, although Lisa's going to be booked out for the next 30 years every November. So Lisa, let me ask you the first question. When you first dreamed this up, what gap were you seeing in women's lives? Like, what were women hungering for that you felt camp could give them?
So it was a little more selfish than that.
That's totally fair.
It was literally like, what did I need at that time in my life? And I was a young mother who, so my husband and I got married in 2003. So it was probably 2009 when I discovered something similar to Lucky Star. And since high school, have always loved doing events. And I even had my trigonometry teacher was my student council sponsor. And we had to do prom my junior year. We were in charge of the prom. And I accredit her to teaching me how to throw an event, like manage it from the ground up. I mean, she taught me how to do not just a tiny little high school event, but like how to do events. And I have used this. I mean, this is something I use in my job. It's something that I use daily with in my life. So I had always wanted to do events. And so just imagine I'm a young mom. I have, I'm surrounded by babies. I have 3 stepkids that are 7, 8, and 12 when we got married. So they were, on up there. And so we're busy. And we're living in the town that my husband grew up in and my husband had friends in, but I was a transplant there. So I just, I wanted people. I wanted people. And I had my babies, but I wanted people. And especially women friends. And like I was the one who would like look out the window and watch for people to walk by with strollers. And I would be like, oh, I'm gonna go check my mail right now. And I would strategically
Hi.
check my mail and be like, oh, hi. Oh, you have a baby. I have a baby, like, please be my friend. Please be my friend, and that's just how I felt. And I knew I wanted to do something also just to bring women together. I had started going to like a Bible study and I had started trying different things. So then my husband and I moved to the hill country to Hunt, Texas, where we live now. And I started watching. This was in the era of like, do you remember when Martha and Snoop first got together?
Yes.
Okay. So like, and my timeline is probably way out of whack, but I remember specifically Martha Stewart's show, maybe not the Snoop part yet, but she would show these beautiful farms where there were like artisans making cheese and garden, all the like gardens and Whole Foods. And then like they were making yarn from the sheep's wool and all these things. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we're moving to Hunt. We're going to be living on a farm. Like, I want to learn how to do all these things. And so I would just start watching like all these YouTube videos and that is when I ran across this video of an art retreat that was at a campground in New Hampshire. And I was like, oh, this is it. And like, I'm seeing the joy on these women's faces and they're in these classes and they're making things. And I really had zero art background. I mean, none. I've always been like a Jill of all trades, like I can figure that out. I can do that, or I would try stuff. And I was in 4-H and we did like all kinds of little projects and stuff. But I never, ever dreamed that I would have anything to do with arts or crafting. I mean, as a business, especially. But really, even like other than just at home, like I was sewing, for my baby.
Right. Like you're crafty. Right.
Never did I imagine that I would go down the path of an art retreat. I mean, no. But when I saw this, I'm like, okay, I'm in this beautiful place in Hunt, Texas, where it's like the capital of summer camps. I mean, like beautiful old summer camps that are just dreamy. And I was like,
so dreamy. Sorry.
Possibly have the spot, right? And then, I mean, I can just start reaching out to these people that I'm seeing on like Martha Stewart's show, right? And just ask them, would you come and teach classes? And then I can just start putting it out there in the world that I want to do this and see what happens. And so in the meantime, I decided I'm signing up and going to whatever that place is that I just saw in that video. So I did that. I went and I went for 3 years.
Oh, did you really? Okay.
Loved it. So I first went in 2010 to Squam Art Workshops. And just fell in love with the whole idea of it and the structure of it even. And I'm like, could I do this? Could I do this? And after
is Squam men and women?
No, it's women.
Just women. Okay.
It's women only. At least it was back then. I don't know if they've included men now or not. But yeah, I went and I was like, this is it. This is absolutely it. And if I can start trying to get a little bit of a following for this idea, it's just like if you build it, they will come. I just started building it. I just started a Facebook and I started, trying to figure out the name of it and all that stuff. I just started doing it. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew a little bit at a time. It was a big deal when I booked Vivian McMaster and Juliet Crane. And I was just like, okay, if they're willing to believe in my little idea down here, and I'm not saying this was my idea, art retreats of all sorts have been around for long before I started Lucky
But
Star.
this was yours.
This was my baby, right? So if I can get these two on board, I can do this. And so I think the first year was in 2013. And I think I probably had like 44 campers and plus some instructors, like probably 20 instructors. I don't even think I broke 80 that year.
Stop, really? I feel like it was more than that.
Maybe I'm wrong. People ask me this and I have the number 44 stuck in my head for some reason, but I also remember that scary minimum that I had to meet with my contract at Waldemar that was 80. I had to book.
I know. I wanted to say I felt like it was 78.
Maybe I did have 78. That sounds probably right because I remember them making they were like, yeah, you made it. This is good. And they were so good to me. They were really good to me. They still are.
They're awesome. And going back to that time, I remember, first hearing about it before I entered the contest and seeing it. And I saw the pictures and it was like you described, dreamy. I remember going even to get my hair cut and showing my hairdresser, look at this. Is this not the most dreamy thing? Would you not just kill to go to this? And people were like, I guess. I'm like, no. It's calling me
No.
It is calling me. I have to go. But now before I won, and I'll tell you, even after I won, one of the things that almost kept me back was I can't leave my life. I've got these little kids. I've got obligations. People have sports or Boy Scouts or school and homework and dinners and all these things. And you've watched this over the years. You've watched hundreds of women debate whether they deserve that week away. What does that hesitation tell you about how women see themselves and what shifts once they finally show up?
It has taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot because I probably had the same exact feeling, of I can't do this. I remember having to, in my mind, justify it, but I also am when I got married, I was like, I never want to marry someone that I feel like I have to ask permission to. Ever. I have a father,
Right.
So that was one of my goals in life. And I got that with my husband. I mean, he's awesome. So I have to consider the fact that there are lots of people who are in relationships who feel like they would need full buy-in, or that they wouldn't have the support. I'll say it like that. They wouldn't have the support that I had. And I know this. Okay. So with that said, I've learned so much about women in that they may think it's that or something like that, or work or kids or whatever. It's them. It's totally just themselves holding themselves back. I mean, it really is us. We are so hard on ourselves and we think we're way more important than we household. I mean, we are obviously very important.
We don't prioritize that.
Don't prioritize
joy.
ourselves.
Yeah. And Yeah, I feel like, and that's the thing. Like it took me winning it and then hearing, and I remember when I won, I was like screaming. My little son was in the shower. My husband was like washing his hair. I mean, this is how long ago. My son's 20, like, and he's washing his hair. And I'm like, I won. Like, I won this big thing. Like, I won this crazy thing. And I'm like, but I can't. I actually was like, but I can't go. And my little son was like, but mommy, you have to, like, you won. And it's because it's so hard to prioritize yourself. I think when you're so used to prioritizing the people around you,
Yeah.
and it's not that I had support. Everybody was like, get out, like, get your bags and go.
Yeah.
But,
And guess what? Everything was okay, right? When you got back.
totally
Nothing
fine.
was- yeah.
And even better, actually, because I was like,
better. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I had that reset. Well, and tell me this too, so many women, myself included, arrive at Lucky Star by themselves, especially the first year. They're nervous, they're unsure, they might be a little lost. They may think, like I did briefly in the airport, this could be some elaborate hoax. What transformations do you see in those first 24 to 48 hours when they settle in?
Oh gosh. So that first day, well, all year long, I see everyone just as a name on a spreadsheet, right? Sometimes I'll see their little Facebook picture in the Facebook group. But then when everyone arrives, there's this like electric spark of anxiety and excitement. And, everyone like who's been there before, they kind of have this like homecoming feeling, but still, like excitement also. And then all the people that are new to it, whether they're traveling with friends or alone, they've got this nervousness that is, for me, it's like magnetic because I want to go a bug to a light. I'm like, hi, and I'm like hugging them, and they're like, okay, and I'm like, welcome, you're here, you did it. And I think it takes people just a moment to really, I think it's that like, there's that kind of unsure, just feeling of like, okay, what's next, and what is this all about? By the next morning, but really by the next day at lunch, there's just like this collective, like, like just a sigh of like, okay, I see what this is. I thought I was here for these classes, but this is about these women in this community and this feeling and this experience. And like, sure, the classes are awesome. They're great. And I'm going to learn a lot, but this place, I can feel it in my bones. And these people, they're all attracted to the same place for the same reason. And not even everybody knows what that reason is, but they all needed it. It was calling them. And I always say, especially these days, I'm like, you know what? Don't let your friend talk you into coming. If someone calls me and they're like on the fence, I'm like, no, if this is not calling you, no.
Right, you're like that full body yes.
Yeah.
Like if
I want to say, please
yearning,
don't come. If this is not calling you, then it's not for you. Like the people that are here are like being just sucked in, and it's awesome. And you can feel it. And this year, so every year has kind of a feeling. And some years were like, honestly, we've had like at least twice now that I can remember freshly where we've been like day after election years, so people come in and there's just some rawness about it and you can feel it in the air. We always end up being just fine and everybody ends up doing great. But there's just that, thing this year. was so amazingly chill. Like that is the best way to describe it. It was so peaceful. Everyone was so just calm, and the weather was like perfecto. Sorry, Danielle, to rub it again, but like people were jumping in the river.
Come
And
on, Lisa. It
I
poured
know, it's
rain.
wonderful.
Everybody was mean. Nobody connected.
Yeah, these are the most hateful people. You
Well,
didn't miss a thing.
I feel like every year that I went, so I've gone 4 years, or was it 5 years? I can't remember, but every year that I've gone, I've gotten something else out of it. I know this sounds so woo woo, but like every year that I've gone, I've gotten exactly what I needed at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
No,
like,
that's understandable. I can.
which is crazy because it's the same place. Like you keep, yeah, and it's the same, but it's complete. I don't know. It's just the
Well,
energy.
it's the same place, but it's a different animal every year because of the different women who come. So this year we had 40 new campers.
Wow.
The year before we had 65 new campers. So like, there's every year it just kind of, it just changes organically. It does have a different energy. I still have, gosh, I bet you at least 40 campers who have been coming. They haven't made every single year, but I mean, a lot of campers who've been there at least 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And well, and it's so, and it's so, first of all, I feel like I need to say that like, this is no little thing. Like, this is no like little, like you're going someplace to an art camp and like, you think like, this is like stone cabins on this giant, beautiful piece of land on the river. And Lisa like flying around on a golf cart trying to get drop things off to people who might need it or managing things. So it's not, this is not a little thing. It's not like a one room thing. You're going out and about and you're meeting people and you're having these lunches and you're having the fire and it's just this whole thing, but you're also making. And I think that part of, like, I wanted to say, what do you think happens? Because you yourself said you didn't come at this from an art background, but like, what happens to a woman when she's creating whatever she's creating, if it's ceramics, if it's a song, without the pressure of being good at it?
That's the key, right? There's no one at camp that is judging you by your artwork or I mean, like it's, we have artists with a capital A who come, but the majority of people are there because they are drawn to creativity. And I mean, one of the coolest things to me that happens, and this goes back in history as something I think that is paramount to women's existence and community, is like, think about the quilting table, think about making food together. So we've basically, like when I'm curating the classes, I try to get classes that are not just art, not just craft, not just, so there are things like this year we had tamale making. That's another thing that it's best done as a party, it's best done with others. And so even, felting, like any of these activities that you can do while sitting around the table with a bunch of women and visiting. I mean, that is what community is all about. So it doesn't matter the medium. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could literally be doing anything. You could be playing tic-tac-toe, but you're sitting around a table with other women and you have just 3 hours of a class time where you're getting to be with those specific women who signed up for that specific time. And for me, it's all very, without sounding too woo-woo, it's all perfectly exactly the way it's supposed to be. And that's what I always say too about the people who come. Like, if it doesn't work out for them to be here, they weren't meant to be here, you know? And same with
Exactly. Yeah.
classes. You're going to end up, you might not get every class that you hoped to get in your schedule, but wherever you end up is where you were meant to be on that particular day at that particular time. And if you'll just sit in it and keep your eyes and your ears open and your heart open, you could learn something about yourself, about other people, and you could make some new friends. And we're not old enough. I mean, we're not too old to make new friends. Like, we're not old enough to give up on making new friends. Like, I keep wanting to remind myself of that. Like, I have a really, really great group of local friends that I'm very tight with, but I'm always challenging myself to meet new people and make new friends and new relationships and learn new things. It's just that curiosity thing that I keep also reminding myself is so important.
Hey everyone, I've got some exciting news. I'm partnering with Louie, that's Luwi, a company that's reimagined women's health through the lens of the P word. Yep, pleasure. Because pleasure's a vital sign. It's not taboo, it's not indulgent, it's wellness. Louie Lube is more than a silicone-based formula that skips the toxins and hormone disruptors. It's the start of a movement that puts wellness and pleasure first. Order Louie Lube at getlouie.com, that's GETLUWI.com, and use code ROAR15, that's ROAR15, for a special discount at checkout. It's not just like healing to do like these things that, but it's, oh my gosh, I forgot the word that I was going to say, but it's very rewarding. And that wasn't even it either. Okay. Fulfilling. It's completely gone. It's fulfilling. It's like integrating yourself. Like it's keeping you young, it's keeping us fulfilled and it's challenging us. And I can still not think of the exact word, but I'm going to go on until it comes back.
I especially love the people like you or who come alone. I mean, what bigger adventure? Like that is just like, to me, they're the badasses in the crew, It's like, that is so brave. And I want to know you because you just did something really brave. And what's really cool is like a lot of people do that and then they end up making friends there and then they come back, and they end up bunking together. And it's really, really, it's interesting because I think, we can get to a certain age, and that could be midlife, where we put adventure on a shelf. And I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not ready.
I don't either. And I love, one of the things that I love so much is, well, first I was going to say, people come alone and I don't know if they can sense it, like, but you've created a place that's safe to come alone. Like you can, and I don't just mean physically safe. I mean, people that you're cultivating, the experience is it's very nurturing. And if you feel like you're like, I remember Lisa Seeger. Remember Lisa Seeger? I remember her speaking the first camp. And at the end, she said something like, when I got invited to speak here, all I kept thinking is like, please no one hug me. Like, this is just not, I'm not like a kumbaya, like this is not my thing. And she was like, and now like, I want to hug you all. Like, so it's just, it does bring that feeling, but also that there's women of all different ages. So like we may be in midlife, but that doesn't mean everybody there is. And that's what's cool too. You've got this community of women. You've got women in their 20s, their 40s, their 60s and beyond. 80s. What happens when they're all making things side by side and learning from one another?
I mean, you get to see that organic thing where, the wisdom is passed on. And it's so funny because, the 80-year-olds are usually the better listeners. And the younger gals are like talking, talking. And then all of a sudden you'll just get this nugget from the back, that's like from the 80-something-year-old. And it's like, oh, you have this so figured out. Yeah, it's just so It's so good. I love that aspect of camp, of Lucky Star, and that age range is really cool. I love going around and taking pictures of people's hands making.
Ooh.
And I have all these great pictures of hands of all ages making art. And it's just really, that just made me think I need to do like some sort of a collage or something out of that. But yeah, the age range is special. And by the way, what you just said about thinking or feeling like I've created a space that is welcoming to people who are flying solo is such a huge compliment. Like it's the best compliment that you could ever give me because I want everyone to feel welcome and included. And I do. My whole team works really hard at doing that. And I think that is important for all of us. And the more I hear that, the more I really want to, spread that out into the world beyond just Lucky Star because it's so important. Back to like the making of things, I talked about how women sitting around and making things together is so powerful because you get that time and the wisdom of the collective, right? Well, also just the simple act of making something with your own two hands is so empowering. And we have a welding class. I don't know. Did you take welding when you were
No,
in
no,
class?
I didn't take welding, but that's amazing.
So, I mean, again, it's like you can you can come to camp as I'm 51. You could
Oh,
come
me
to camp
too.
as
Me
a
too. Okay.
51-year-old woman and learn how to play the guitar for the first time in your life. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You
But
can weld. You
and
can
then
start welding.
perform.
And you could do Glee Club. I mean,
Yes.
like basically it started out just me like thinking up all of my favorite things. And I was in choir. I was a total choir nerd. And I loved all the choreography and choir and all of our shows and stuff. And I'm like, oh, Mandy, can you please do Glee Club? And she's like, okay, I can try that. And it has been a smash success. It has been the best thing ever. But let's just face it, Mandy has been the best thing ever at Lucky Star.
But that's the thing. Like, and that's the other thing I was going to say. I feel like you've created something, and how do you go about like? So how do you? So this is your baby, but you relinquish enough control to be like, hey, what are the ideas from the outside, like from the collective? And like, Mandy, the first year, she didn't know. Nobody knew anything the first year. Nobody knew I mean, some people knew each other, but very few. and and it was like, I don't want to say the blind leading the blind, but we had no idea what to expect. You couldn't have known
Right.
exactly what to
We were
expect, right?
winging
Because
it.
it's the first year. But this was a first year person, Mandy Rowden, who I interviewed in season 2. And I will, of course, link to this episode, but she's now like a staple. Like she is a staple, I want to say, event in herself. And
Oh yeah.
how do you kind of identify the women that you're bringing in and that continue to not just contribute, but to also offer their opinions to you? And how do you sort that all out? Like,
That is always, I mean, it's different every year. It can be kind of tricky sometimes. I will tell you that, so, my good friend and who's my assistant director, Sean Stratman, she and I actually met at Squam Art Workshops in New
I
Hampshire.
love.
Um, I don't think it was the first year, but I think it was maybe the second year. I can't remember. But anyway, so Sean has been coming to camp and now helping me with camp for a long time now. So she has been like a trusted advisor. Of course, my girlfriends that are here local, I run things past them. I have close relationships with many of the repeat instructors who I rely on because I know that they get Lucky Star. You know what I mean? Like they just get it. And so they know what I'm looking for. And I also love that we kind of are growing together. You know what I mean? Like, let's take Shauna Martin for example. So at the time that I first started Lucky Star, Shauna was living here. She and her husband were living here in Hunt, and their kids were going to the Hunt school, or mine were going to school. And so we met through school, and I was having coffee with her one day at Starbucks in Kerrville, and I'm like, so I have this idea and blah, 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 Well, Shauna's a really amazing artist. And she was like, wait a second, I don't really understand the whole concept of like the show and tell thing. And show and tell was one of my very favorite things, like in kindergarten. So, so my old tagline was Lucky Star Art Camp, show and tell for daydream believers.
Yes. Yes.
So
It sold me.
I mean, that like a lot of people were attracted to that. Smarter people later have told me that I need, in my marketing to be more specific about what I'm offering. So I did change that tagline, but it still is a thread that runs through the heart of Lucky Star, still to this day. But the idea was just that, you come and you have this experience. And then on the last night of camp, you have the opportunity, you don't have to, but you have the opportunity to show everyone your work, tell them about your experience in the class, and do show and tell if you want to. You don't have to. And she was like, oh my gosh, I totally get it. Like, yes, I understand that. And she still brings that up to this day. And this year we had the longest show and tell line up to the stage that I've ever had. It was such a good, and just tears and just laughing. And we were, you're either at camp, you're like, either you're chill and you're into something and you're making something and you're visiting, or you're laughing until you're about to pee your pants, or you're, crying, like just having a moment of like, I see you with someone, or
Yes.
I hear you, or I've been there, or joyful tears, just all of those, all of the good, all the best things of life. To me, show and tell night is just like the best.
I love show and tell. I still love show and tell. Well, and that's what I was going to say. I feel like people really like go through a metamorphosis over these couple days. Like you come in one way, you leave, you are like radiant, like you are lit up. And you even warn people like when they're leaving, you are lit up. If you left a spouse at home with the kids, they are not.
Yeah.
Like be
lit down.
Yeah, just be gentle like in your arrival. Cause I do remember I travel. So I'm from New Jersey. So when I got home the first year, my parents picked me up. And I think they were probably like, get out of the car. Like, cause I was like, I am transformed. I am a new woman. Like I have learned so many things, and I have learned so much about myself and what I maybe offer to the group and the community. And I wanted to ask you, like, you've done this for a while now, right? What do you see? Like, how do people sustain that? Can you sustain it? But how do people sustain that? Like, what kind of shifts have you seen in people's lives as they leave? Like when they get home, do you hear about things? Because I feel like I've heard so many people that the first year went to camp with, like there have been so many huge life transitions. And of course, that's partially just time going by. But I like to think some of it is because of Lucky Star. Like I like to think some of these creative impulses are started there. They originated there. And I just wanted to get your feedback on that.
The first thing that came to mind, because I thought you were just going to like, what are their experiences when they get home? And
That's that too, though.
the funniest things that I've seen posted are like, I'm really pissed off. There's no one making dessert for me and doing the dishes today, like,
Yes.
So funny.
And the food, my God, the food. Oh.
The food is so good. And there are people doing the dishes and we have dessert with every meal. So, there's all of that. So many cool things. So many stories of really, really awesome projects that have been sparked, at Lucky Star.
Yes.
So examples, books have been written, people have become speakers. There are people who have done collabs on using certain artwork. Like you provide the fabric, one artist would provide the fabric, and then the other artist would do leather tooling and make a bag with that fabric on it.
Oh, wow.
Collabs like that. Oh my goodness. So there have been several instances where I have had to talk someone into coming and teaching for the very first time. I'm like, no, I think you're going to be really good at this. And this could add a new aspect to your business and a new income stream, if you can teach classes. And so that has happened. And then they did continue. People who have actually gone on to become art teachers at schools. What else?
I'm thinking, I remember again, I'm sorry, this is all about my own experience. I'm so sorry. Freshman year, my first year there, was it my first year there and Leslie's first year there?
So it wouldn't have been your first year there because I don't think Leslie taught that first year.
No. She wasn't even an artist. She was still a photographer.
She was just there.
She was a wedding photographer.
She came the first year.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's what she said. I remember we were in a class together and she told me later that she said to the teacher, and she was a successful photographer. That's what she was. She was a wedding photographer. She had a successful business. That is what she did. She wasn't coming to, this isn't a career training. This isn't the kind of camp, this isn't
you're not getting CEUs.
Yeah, this is not at all this camp. Right. And so, but she left while there, she was like, I really wish I were an artist. And now Leslie is an artist. That is how she makes her living.
That is one of my favorite stories. And I'm so glad you brought it up because she just turned the page and she was like, I'm all in on being an artist. And then she ended up teaching at Lucky Star, probably 4 times. And she is a full-blown working artist in Houston.
And she's doing great. I don't know how, but she's got 4 kids. She's this is her job now. And I find that kind of, you could just put that on your website as this is a testimonial. These are things that have happened here.
Seriously. I just saw a Facebook post from one of my past campers who just opened her studio and did her first website ever. So she's going full-time artist all of a sudden. So yeah,
and it's not
in her first year, she was unsure and it's just very, very cool to see those kinds of life changes play out.
Absolutely. And that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. You just mentioned the Facebook group. So there's Lucky Star and it's a retreat, right? It's a camp, but it also becomes a community people stay part of the whole year. What do you think happens when people are gathering this way that forge these bonds that keeps you connected all year long? We're talking about 5 days here, tops.
I think because we're all vulnerable with one another when we're at camp. And I mean, that's the key in building relationships, period. You have to be willing to be vulnerable with people, and they will reciprocate, and they will cheer for you, and they will be your biggest fan. And I think when that happens at camp, when we get to see each other's okay, so one of the things that happens at camp is that you like get to be a kid again, in a sense. Like, it's not unheard of to go lay on the ground in the grass under a big tree and just stare there at the canopy of the tree and just lie there for hours, or try something completely new, like a sound bath, and like, so when you do these new things, it like brings emotion to the surface when you are like thinking about, like, I haven't colored something since I was a child. And like, people are sitting around coloring in their tote bags that we do every year. And I don't know, I just think, like, okay, this is so sweet. This year, a new camper came to me and said, "This has made me feel so much like a child again and remember myself as a child, that it makes me miss my mom so much." And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can understand that, but like, getting to put all the seriousness of the world aside for even just 5 days can make a huge difference. It just cracks people open and reminds them of who they really are, because we just keep stacking stuff on, and we just get so busy and we're just spinning out all the time. And so when you are forced to kind of slow down and be with yourself and try something hard and maybe fail at it, and like be like, oh my gosh, I suck at making a broom. This is really not what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. But it taught me something about myself. I can try hard things. I can do hard things. I have a broom here. I did this, but it's not necessarily going to be my new favorite hobby.
Right.
But like, seeing people struggling and then winning, or struggling and then having, like an emotional like breakthrough. I mean, those experiences that are shared just tightens the group. I mean, and then you want to continue cheering people on. You want to see what's going on in their life. You want to do life with them, even if it's from a million miles away. You just keep that little thread, that little tether. And it's really cool, because no one else in your world may have anything to do with Lucky Star or know a single soul at Lucky Star. But having that little tether to your people at Lucky Star, that community, just gives you this like boost of self-esteem, of just like, it's a little secret that you have that you keep to yourself. I've had people come and tell me, I'm not telling a soul about this. I don't want anyone else to know about it. They're like, I'm keeping this all to myself. But it's really cool to get to see people evolve. But I mean, just like in real life, outside of Lucky Star, people are out there in the world experiencing all kinds of things, good, bad, ugly. And it's, we're all humans and we're all craving that connection.
quick pause to invite you into the Roar community. Roar is all about amplifying women's voices, and you can be part of it. I share the messy, unfiltered, behind-the-scenes stuff in my emails, things you won't hear anywhere else. Sign up at listentoroar.com and get in on the real talk. And hey, if this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, drop a comment, or pass it to that one friend who needs to hear it. Every share helps bring more women's stories into the spotlight. All right, let's get back to the episode. I wasn't going to mention this, but it's lending itself, so I'm just going to put it out there. The world right now in 2025 is like super volatile. Like people are not that nice to each other.
Yeah.
Online, or I mean, especially online, but it's kind of spilling over, right? Like you just hear these instances. There's just so much volatility, and people feel so strongly about all their things, myself included. I'm not trying to shift the blame. Like it's a tough time in the world, but I feel like Lucky Star transcends that. And I feel like is community can transcend it. You know, I've read like some thing before where people do these dinners, like they have these dinners, and I can't even remember because it might be several examples at once, but they'll have these dinners where like they invite just like disparate members of the community who wouldn't normally like really get along politically or racially or gender wise, whatever it is, they wouldn't naturally get along, but it's really hard to like be mean to somebody who's handing you a breadbasket. And like, it's really hard to not see the humanity when you're saying, hey, will you help me mix these paints? Like,
Yes, absolutely. To me, that is the recipe to the answer to all of our problems. It's the equivalent of the like two fighting children in one big t-shirt. It's like you put them in there together and you make them work it out. And it's not even like a forced situation here. It's it's hard to be ugly to someone who is sitting at the table next to you, making, struggling with the same crochet as you are. You know what I mean? And like asking the same questions as you are, and having the same joyful experiences as you are. It's easy from, your desk or your computer to be mean to people. I mean, it's not for me, but I can see how it's much easier. But to someone's face, when you're sitting with them and when you're having an experience together, I honestly think that's the answer to all of our problems.
Yeah, because it's like
people together, even if they like this whole thing of dividing and, the tribal, like, yeah, there's so many things about a tribe that is good, but there's also, there are bad things that come with that. And the division is just, it's not productive. And it's just not the way that I want.
I think when you sit down and you're, whether you're talking about like your crafter, but you overhear someone say something like, my daughter's going to really like this, or like, I know I've made things and been like, oh, I'm going to bring this home for Ruby. Like, she's going to love this acrylic bracelet that I just learned to make at art camp today. And then someone's like, my daughter too, does she like blah, blah, blah? And then and you get in these conversations that show how much you have in common.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much more. Like we're all appreciating this great food and this wonderful experience. It's just, I hope you get to keep it up forever, because I feel like there's that too.
I hope so too. Yeah, we all have so much more in common than we have in differences. And I think if we can focus on those things, and I always say, like, leave all the BS at the gate, don't bring it in. Just don't even bring it in here.
Well, and the rest of it, you rely on each other to uplift, like, and, thinking about, I brought this up to you before, and I don't know who this woman was, because I never saw her again. But she was there. She was there freshman year. She was there the first year I was there, and we were in Juliet Crane's art class, which was amazing. And at the time, it was different. It was like all day, right? Wasn't it all day? Like some of the
There
classes
were
were like
some,
8 hours.
yeah,
We were
6
there
hours.
like all day. You are like fast friends. Like
Yeah,
you know everything about somebody's life if you've spent 8 hours painting with them.
yeah.
And we did. And this woman, I remember she was a local art teacher or local-ish. She had a son. I don't know. She hadn't painted in a long time. Maybe she had been an art teacher, but I remember her, and we went in to eat and she was like, I can't show this painting to anybody. And she actually was like crying. She's like, this is all like, and we're like, no, we support you. We love you. We know it's going to be awesome, to the point where she was going to show it to us. And I remember starting to panic because I was like, what if it is as bad as she says? Like, how are we going to counter this? Like,
Yeah.
because we've built her up so big. We're like,
Yeah.
it's probably magnificent. It belongs in a museum. And of course it was totally fine. Like it was a totally beautiful painting. Like it probably wasn't going to go in a museum, but it absolutely was not something that you'd be like, what is this wretched thing doing here? And I feel like that's the part, like you leave everything else at the gate and then you kind of have to have this like trust that these women are actually going to be here. This is not like a catty women gathering. This isn't like a Mean Girls episode.
They
These are,
throw those out the gate.
yes, it is like you are being really carried and lifted up by the women around you. So I think that really says something about women too, that we are willing to be that vulnerable with each other,
Yeah.
and really put ourselves in this like complete, like you said, people are either intently working, they're laughing, or they are actually crying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not every place welcomes that.
Right. Right.
So thank you. I have one last question and then I will go let you go and go pick my daughter up from school. But if a woman listening feels that tug, she knows she needs community, creativity, or a shift, but she's scared. She doesn't see another stroller walking past her front window and decide to get in the mail. What would you tell her about what's waiting for her on the other side of yes?
Open arms. I would say go for it. And even if you, let's just say you try to sign up for Lucky Star and it's sold out, get on the wait list. Number one, get on the wait list because we do a lot of times get to the wait list. And if you don't get to come next year, find something in your community that has that same feel, something where you don't have to be good at it. Like if they're like, okay, so I was just at a place having lunch the other day and I met this woman. She was so sweet and cute. And I overheard her talking about mahjong. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to learn how to play mahjong at camp and blah, blah, blah. We had mahjong this year, by the way.
Fun.
And so she's like, really? Well, we do mahjong over here at this place on Monday nights. You should come join us. And like, I don't know how to play mahjong. And it's like the Chinese version of mahjong. And I just learned the American version of mahjong. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to pass that opportunity. This woman just told me that I can walk into this room and that there will be other women in there who will love to teach me how to play. I'm like, that is what it's all about. Like, I'm just going to sign up. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to show up. And I think I'm going tonight, actually, for the first time. I think I'm going to go. But that's the be brave. Be brave. Make a deal with yourself that you're going to try. And even if you go and it's a total, you feel like it's just a flop, try again. Don't ever stop trying because you're going to find your people. My husband kept telling me that. He was so supportive. He's like, you're going to find your people.
That is awesome.
You can also create. Bunko, like hosting Bunko. And I didn't know all the people in my community, but I knew like 2 people. And I was like, well, who would you put on the list? And who should I invite? And so we got together and just invited a bunch of people. And that is such a great game because you're trading partners constantly, throughout the night. So you're getting to play with the other person being on your team, and then you switch so you get to learn, you get to meet a lot of different people. And we had the best time. So like look for things. I would say just look for things where what you're really craving is not necessarily the art or the thing. You're
Not necessarily Bunko or the broom.
Yeah, you're craving the connection with anyone, someone. Where are my people? We're here. We're out there in the world. You just have to keep looking and you'll find it. It won't be hard. When you find your people, it won't feel hard. It'll feel easy. Those are your people.
Lisa, thank you so much. This episode is our last one of season 3. It's going to come out right before the holidays because I feel like it's like a good wish for a good like holiday season with your family and like community. And it's like the time where, I don't know, my very favorite Christmas movie is Scrooged with Bill Murray. And he says, it's not too late. It's not too late to go like call your old college roommate, call your friend. And that's how I feel about Lucky Star and what you did. So thank you for being part of my holiday season, but
Thanks
also for really bringing Lucky Star to my life all those years ago, because I will say, I think it came at just the right time. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And that's our conversation with the one and only Lisa Field, founder of Lucky Star, curator of courage, and the woman who proved that sometimes the thing you're craving is exactly the thing you're meant to build. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to come by next week when we're speaking with Sheldon Bartlett-Rumer. I'm so excited for you to meet her. Sheldon is CEO of This Is It TV, a media powerhouse, champion of female founders, and the woman behind one of the most intentional visibility platforms for women in business today. So hit follow, hit subscribe, tell a friend, and meet me back here next week. We'll see you then.